Live from the Export Beer Garden studios, you're listening to the BYC, where we are perched on the precipice of the Fourth Ashes Test in what has been an extraordinary advertisement for the great game that is Test cricket. And I must admit to a little resentment over the 9-day break and having to return to normal life. Fortunately, tonight we begin again, and there are fascinating selectorial conundrums facing both teams. All this and more we shall dissect forthwith, and Dylan, I don't know about you, mate, but this series has been so good that I'm bereft when it's not happening.
Yeah, look, you were away last week, and we mentioned actually the lengths we're having to go to keep our relationships alive.
Yeah, totally, man.
Particularly during this. So, look, I mean, I don't know about you, but I just hope you just showered a little bit of attention on your partner last night, because you're not going to see her again for the next 4, possibly 5 nights. I mean, it doesn't have to be birthday or anniversary level attention, but sometimes they just need to know that you see them.
Oh, look, I've got to be honest with you, Dylan. My wife loves the Test cricket because it gets her, gets me out of her hair, as she puts it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She prefers it. And in actual fact, she's miserable when the Test cricket isn't playing either, because it means I have to talk to her, which she finds for some peculiar reason that I've never really fully understood really annoying. But there you go. But, mate, what a Test series it's been. Let's get into this fourth Test and start off with the English, shall we? Because, you know, there was some debate regarding Jimmy Anderson and what to do with Jimmy Anderson. Is it time to, get the selector's axe out? I mean, he's been an absolute legend of the game, no question about it. But there's been a few pundits out there saying, well, maybe the time has come for us to move on from James Anderson. But no, say the English, we shall have you back, sir.
Well, I wonder if they've just kind of given him a subtle message that, Jimmy,
yes,
you're 40 years old, you haven't got long left in this great game of ours, but we're playing at Old Trafford, your home ground, you're going to be bowling from the James Anderson end.
Yes, nice.
How about just, putting petrol in the tank and getting one last great test out of you? But he is England's actually ultimate bad luck charm. He hasn't played on a winning Ashes test team since 2015, so it is a punt in that way, but with grey skies, familiar surrounds.
Sure, and, the interesting thing, I think he's been a touch unlucky as well. I mean, yes, I will absolutely acknowledge that he hasn't been at his best, but still he's always a threat, isn't he?
He is. He certainly is when the ball's swinging. I think what we've found is that this batch of Duke's balls is perhaps not lasting, the shine's not lasting as long.
Yes.
And when the ball doesn't swing for James Anderson, you're left with, about 132, 133k medium pace, which is sometimes the criticism we level at our own New Zealand team, isn't it?
Well, it is. We can be very samey in that regard. But one of the things for me is I was mightily impressed with Tongue, the English bowler. I thought he had all the goods, and, I would have liked to have seen him as part of this English lineup, because I think he's got real potential, and I think at some stage, maybe after the series, They'll he'll be a regular player. But let's look at the English bowling lineup. Broad, Anderson, Woods, who, my God, what a difference did he make to this whole series. Wokes, who I really, really rate as a cricketer, contributed both with bat and ball, and Robinson out.
Yeah, Robinson out, and don't forget Moeen Ali, who has been battling a torn spinning finger.
Yes.
Which is pretty horrendous situation to deal with if you're a finger spinner. But he found some honey mixture, evidently, that's healed the finger in record time. And that honey mixture comes from nowhere else but these two great little islands at the bottom of the South Pacific.
Yeah, totally.
So we're having more than a roll. It's not just
Baz
and Christchurch-born Ben Stokes. We're providing the salve, the ointment that's keeping this Ashes campaign going. It is a very fine bowling lineup.
Yes.
You got...
Well, it feels to me like the balance is right there. You know what I mean?
You'd love a left armour, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. Well, you see, this is where I think Tongue brings something too, because he's
tall.
He's a tall bowler.
Yep.
He's pretty quick. He's pretty nippy.
He's not as quick as Wood, though. Wood is rapid.
How good is he?
Yeah, he's just brilliant to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, just steaming in. The fact that he cartwheels every time he bowls the ball isn't ideal. But both teams also, because it's been a pretty hectic series so far, both teams well rested. That 9-day break, the Aussies been going all over the shop. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, look, it's perfectly set up. You couldn't ask for anything better. The cricket has been phenomenal. The England bowling lineup, as you mentioned, they've got genuine pace, which is so exciting. Australia have got genuine bounce with Cummins. Josh Hazlewood's coming back in for Boland, who was strangely ineffective.
Yes.
In the previous test. I guess the real controversial thing Australia have done is they're going into a test for the first time, I believe, in 11 years without a specialist spinner.
Yes.
Which just goes to show that Daniel Vettori is leading his best life.
Yeah,
He is essentially on holiday now.
Man, I felt for Murphy in that test. He should have been given a run. He looks a decent cricketer to me, and he looks a good bowler. And, the fact that Cummins was not willing to risk him in that final day really surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, he got slapped a bit by Ben Stokes, didn't he, in the first inning?
But he held his nerve, though. He held his nerve, yeah.
And he got him out, yeah. I think Mark Taylor was very vocal about it on the commentary, wasn't he? During that chase, he was saying if you don't get him in now, you're going to struggle to get him in later in the game.
Yeah, well, if at 130, 140 to get, you go, now's the chance. If they have a bit of a blowout, you still got a bit of a buffer. But when you're getting down to 40 or 30 runs to get, then you can't really risk him. Yeah,
and I guess they've looked at it and thought, what's our best chance of getting out England? Again, we're looking at the weather forecast here. It's not great for Manchester. It very rarely is great. So there's going to be a bit of moisture around. There's going to be a bit of cloud cover. They're probably thinking, do we need a whole bunch of overs from a spinner who can't really bat when we've got Travis Head who can bowl? He can turn the ball off the straight. And he's
Labuschagne Smith.
Labuschagne and Smith might bowl a couple of overs of junk.
Yes.
The over before lunch or the over before tea or something like that. But, look, they've got two match-winning all-rounders now. We wondered how they were going to shoehorn them in, didn't we? We're talking about Mitchell Marsh and Cam Green here. Mitchell Marsh coming off the back of a stunning century. Cam Green, all the potential in the world, though I'm not quite sure that his head's in the game yet.
Yeah, he's an interesting one for me, Cameron Green, because I think I've said this on previous podcasts, I don't know that he's really fulfilled his potential at all, really. I mean, certainly he's had an impact, and certainly I think he's going to be a great player, but he's been very heralded, hasn't he? And they keep going, what a phenomenal cricketer he is. But he hasn't quite taken the game by the balls, in my opinion.
Which is probably what we said about Mitchell Marsh a few years ago too.
Yes.
Like this is, again, from Perth, very similar stature, very similar way of playing the game, hard-hitting right-handed batters and tall bowlers who hit the deck hard. Mitchell Marsh was going to be a phenomenon too until he wasn't quite.
Yes.
And now he looks like he might have finally figured out his game. And it's probably not in time to stave off the talent of Cam Green, but that's how they've shoehorned them into the team. And you got to think about what it feels like for an opposing bowling attack too. You presumably you got through your Travis Heads, your Labuschagne, your Steve Smiths, your Usman Khawajas, your Davey Dum-Dums.
Yes.
And then you've got Mitchell Marsh and Cam Green, both with the potential to flog the leather off the ball.
Yeah, I was
6 and 7.
Mitchell Marsh, I was massively impressed with the fact that he hadn't been playing any cricket. He came in and just scored that magnificent century. It was superb. Talking of spinners who bat, Moeen Ali at number 3. Yeah. Your thoughts on that? Because of course they tried that in the third test. He got 5 or 6 from recollection.
Yeah,
didn't really do much, but I suppose technically he has the ability, but it feels very much a stopgap measure.
He is a really interesting player to watch.
Yes.
He looks so languid. There is a touch of the David Gowers.
Yes.
About the way he sort of just loosely throws his hands through the ball outside off stump. It can look silly on occasion. I think what's really impressed Stokes and McCullum, and you can imagine it because of the way those two like to go about their cricket, but was the fact that he basically went to them and said, hey,
I'll do it.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
I want to bat 3. I want to try and take the game away from these guys.
Yes.
And you can imagine them going, oh, he's our man.
Yeah. He's putting his hand up. Of course, in that third test at number 1, at first drop there, initially they had...
Brooke.
Brooke. God, what a great player he's going to be. I rate him very, very highly. But here's another thing I want to talk to you about this English side, and we have talked about it a little bit on this podcast. Folks. The
missing folks.
Yeah, Bairstow. I struggle with that. As I've previously stated, I think Bairstow behind the stumps is an ugly keeper. I think he drops a lot of balls. I don't think he moves well. But more importantly than that, he's a confidence player, and I believe that his confidence has been affected by his keeping, and it's gone on to his batting. What do you think about that?
I think that's a very astute piece of analysis, Jason Hoyte.
Thanks, mate.
And you look at his only real contribution of note with the bat in this series.
First innings.
Yeah, first test. He hadn't had the dropsies by then. I think you're dead right. He's trying to talk a good game.
Yes.
But you can tell when a player is slightly out of form because they don't bat the way they normally bat. And I know that sounds a very basic and obvious way of saying it, but Johnny Bairstow over the past 18 months, he became one of the most feared batters in the world by taking the bowling on pretty much from ball one, from particularly on the back foot, hooking. Yes. He's now looking like he's trying to rediscover his touch by batting time, and that's not what
he does.
That's not what. That's when he's at his worst.
Yes,
is when he's actually trying to bat and construct proper test innings. When he sees the ball and hits the ball, that's the Johnny Bairstow you fear. He hasn't batted like that recently. His keeping has been out and out poor.
Yeah, very.
I think you can put some of that down to the lack of mobility, or maybe just feeling his way on that ankle after, it was a pretty horrific break.
Yes.
Ligaments and both lower leg bones. But they're stubborn. And we know Stokes is stubborn. We know McCullum's stubborn. You've got the best, who I think is the best keeper in the world, sitting there waiting. And they are thinking, well, actually, he doesn't offer as much with the bat as Bairstow. We've got to shuffle things around. We're just going to plug away with Bairstow.
Yeah, well, this is the interesting thing, because how important is the keeping? And it's been massively costly to England. It's been massively costly. Not only is Folks a superior keeper, but he's more than handy with the bat. And you contrast that with Carey for the Australians, who's in great form behind the stumps. Yep. Reasonably good form with the bat as well.
Until that last
test match. And I guess there's this mentality that we can get away with a part-time-ish kind of keeper, but boy, it can cost you a test match.
And particularly in England, I've been banging on about this for the last couple of podcasts, but you talk to any international keeper who's played the game for a long time, and they will say keeping in England with a Duke's ball is the toughest assignment for a wicketkeeper because the ball moves so much after
it leaves the batsman. Yeah.
Even with nicks, it can move afterwards. So you do need a really, really good keeper. I think Johnny Bairstow at his best is adequate.
Yes.
He's not at his best.
No, he's not at his best. Let's talk about Stokes too. Obviously now not bowling or bowling minimally. So they're having to crowbar other bowlers in there to sort of take the weight. Obviously he's the skipper. He's a phenomenal batsman as well. So it's handy that he can bowl, but I don't think it's a crisis that he can't bowl.
No, although it does really affect the balance of the team.
It does.
Because it means you've got Wokes coming in one spot too high at 8. And I know he contributed with the bat in the last test, but my God, he was lucky. You've got Broad, Anderson and Wood. And again, Wood contributed, but he's a Southey type slogger. So you really got 3 number 10, 11-ishes.
Yes.
So it does. If Stokes can bowl 10 overs a day,
it does help.
It helps a lot. He can't, so it means they have to pay an extra bowler. But, are they, from all the talk of Stokes in the lead up to this test, they're just going to go hell for leather. With possible limited overs available to them, I don't think they're worrying about the balance of the team. They are just going to go for it.
Yeah, and that's the way they play their game. And there's those that say too that Australia doesn't have to push so hard for the win. Because, of course, 2-1 ahead. And, boy, I've been reflecting, too, on the fact that England must be ruining that first test match and just going. But I don't think they're the sort of guys that do that. I think they move on and go, right, let's win this test match. But in a way, Australia going, well, we don't actually have to win. We can stay in the contest might be
dangerous thinking.
Very dangerous thinking. You know what I mean? I mean, they do have to still go out there and try and win the test match.
Yeah, I think there was an element of them being a little bit passive in the last test.
Yes.
And that hurt them. Look, I think England will be more than... You always put yourself in the shoes of the opposition and what would they like to see. And I think England would like to see an Australian team go out there that's thinking, well, maybe, if we get a bit of rain later on and we hang around for a bit and bat time, we can get a draw. I think they'd love to see that.
Yes.
Because they're not going to do that.
No. Warner, your thoughts on him?
I'm not surprised that we talked about it all last summer, didn't we?
Yes.
We talked about Henry Nicholls. And when are the selectors finally going to pull the plug, understand this guy's hopelessly out of form, and cricket selectors these days go, nah, wait and see. He's a good player, wait and see. Happened with Nicholls last year, double century in the last test. Australia are like that with Warner. They know the guy can play. They're just hanging around. I don't agree with it, particularly.
No.
I think he's dog taker with Stuart Broad coming around the wicket to him. And you give someone enough chances, of course they're going to score a run. I mean, a stop clock is right twice a day, I think is the saying, isn't it? So,
totally. Well, yeah. And I think there's that whole kind of emotional aspect of it too, probably his last tour, and, he's been a great servant and all that sort of stuff. But I'd like to see some brutality.
Yeah, I mean,
cut him out. Actually, don't leave him in there because I want England to win this test match.
So if you had dropped him, would you have played the spinner and put one of those all-rounders up to open, or perhaps even a Travis Head up to open? Or would you drop him for a like-for-like opener, a Marcus Harris, or at a pinch, I guess, Matt Renshaw, who used to open back in the day?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. And I think Harris has never really taken his opportunities, has he?
No.
But, it's that situation where one player's failing, so you might as well give another guy a run just to see if it changes things. Waiting! Your prediction for the match?
If they get enough cricket in,
yes,
I've just got a sneaky feeling England are going to turn this into the greatest test series ever played.
Well, I mentioned a couple of podcasts ago, when England went 2-0 down, that I reckon their mentality is, this is us, boys. We're going to win this 3-2, and we're going to turn this around. Because for me, that's the mentality that they have. Not, oh, bugger, we're 2 down, but boys, let's make this 3-2.
Yeah, although I think even if they win this one and go to 2-2, I've also got a little sneaky feeling that Australia are going to shock the world and come from a bad place
to a good place. Well, 10 o'clock tonight. Yeah. I'll be tuning in. Don't you bloody worry about that. It's going to be an absolute humdinger. Now, let's move on to Major League Cricket. Good fun and big crowds in Texas.
Oh, it's been a bit of a hoot, actually. Yeah, and I've just got a funny feeling. Again, I've got a lot of funny feelings today. I'm not quite sure what's in the air, but this could actually work. And maybe I'm just saying that because it's a good time for New Zealand, so I'm watching a little bit of it.
Yes.
I have the phone down while I'm tapping on my laptop and watching it. But I think the key is to not get over-ambitious and think you're going to turn dyed-in-the-wool Americans, your rednecks from the South, your Midwest, and people. You're not going to turn them into cricket lovers. But what you can do is engage the Caribbean population there, which numbers close to 15 million. There's the 5 or 6 million people of Indian heritage there. There's more than 1 million Pakistanis there. Bangladeshis is the fastest growing community in the States. If you can kind of engage that latent fan base there, why can't it work?
Yeah, well.
I mean, it's a full house. Admittedly, it's a reconverted minor league ballpark, and I think its capacity maybe 7,000 or 8,000.
Yes.
But it's been good fun. The cricket's been of a decent standard. It's not IPL.
Yes.
But there's some good players playing there.
Well, 6 teams, 4 owned by the IPL, 2 conglomerates involving Cricket Australia. The Kiwis, some Kiwis doing pretty well over there. Conway. He just goes from success to success, doesn't he? With the Texas Super Kings, 55-0, 74, 2 caughts and 1 stumping.
Yeah, I mean, he just wherever he plays, whatever format, he just scores runs.
Yes.
He's a phenomenon, really.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Santner, Texas, 22, 21, 27 and 1 wicket.
Chipping away.
Yeah, Corey Anderson, San Francisco UFOs, 91 not out, 12 and 1 wicket.
Now, just curious, isn't he? Old
Corey.
It's just like,
what?
Man, this guy can still play at a high level.
Yeah.
What I couldn't believe it is, because he feels like a player from a different time.
Yes, he does, yeah.
32 years old.
Yeah.
So if he hadn't been hamstrung by those injuries, I mean, I think he played less than 100 internationals for New Zealand across all the formats. I'm thinking he's a what-if story.
Yes.
Like for completely different reasons to a Jesse Ryder. But at the same time, you look at him and think, that guy had a lot of talent.
Yeah, he did.
And he's playing for Sam Fran.
He was a powerhouse at the time. Trent Bolt to New York, Mumbai, 2 for 38, 2 for 10, 2 for 29, 2 not out and 7 not out.
Sonny Gavaskar has been waxing lyrical about him.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful exponent of left-arm swing bowling.
Some doing poos. Finn Allen, UFOs, 10 and 28 and made an absolute of himself. And we've got some audio in that regard.
Change something. And if he'd come round the wicket, you can maybe spear the ball in at the feet of Finn Allen to stop him using those arms. What's going on here? Finn Allen's looking to the sky. He's gone. He's run out in very unorthodox fashion.
Absolute twit of himself.
Yes.
And just for the listeners out there who might not have seen it, just gets a ball on his hip, tucks it into mid-wicket, does one of this very cool, what's the generation these days called? It's not Generation X, that's us, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm not sure what it is.
Z.
The millennial.
Yes.
Just trotting down to the other end, taking all the time in the world. The guy from mid-wicket, who's no athlete, similar to the guy that
It ran me out. Yeah.
Picks up the ball, throws at the stumps. Van Allen goes to lazily reach out and drops his bat instead. It was super embarrassing.
Martin Guptill, LA Night Stalkers, duck and duck.
Yeah.
Glenn Phillips, Washington Hot Takes, 26 and 0.
0 wickets.
No, 0 wickets. Lockie Ferguson, Night Stalkers, 2 for 23, 1 for 37 and 0 and 1.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's been a lot of fun.
Hey, big news. Test series against South Africa and Australia for the Black Caps. White ball series against Pakistan and England for the White Ferns. The first New Zealand International Summer to be screened live on free-to-air TVNZ in 24 years, Dylan Cleaver, will comprise a potential 48 days of cricket.
Yeah.
That's my summer sorted. The Black Caps, who have never won a test series against South Africa, home or away, will square off against the Proteas in Tauranga and Hamilton, ahead of hosting World Test Champions Australia for the first time since 2016 in Wellington and Christchurch.
Yeah, that's...
Two test series, though.
I know.
Come on, man.
This is, that's brilliant, right? Series against South Africa, great. Series against Australia, great. But at the end of the day, it's 4 measly tests.
Yes.
In your home summer. One of them will probably be turned into one of those mockeries, which is a day-night test in Tauranga with a stupid pink ball and, manufactured declarations to get people batting under the
lights.
Lights. And so, great. I'm stoked that South Africa are coming here again. It'd be brilliant to see Australia. Last time they were here in 2016 was McCullum's last series.
Yes.
New Zealand didn't play well, although McCullum went bananas in Christchurch, but it was an easy victory for Australia. So hoping we can right some of those wrongs. And the White Ferns have got a lot of good cricket too, particularly with England coming here, have been mighty impressive and nearly winning the Ashes of the Australian women's team.
Yes, indeed. On top of facing South Africa and Australia in the Test arena, the Black Caps will also play Bangladesh. And good times. In ODI and T20 series in December, Pakistan in a 5-match T20 series in January before taking on Australia 3 T20s, 2 of which will be played at Eden Park.
Yeah, look out, top edges.
Bigger news, good news for cricket fans on that front. Live ball-by-ball commentary of all home internationals and domestic finals will be available on Sense Radio this summer, with digital coverage also accessible via a partnership with NZME and the Alternative Commentary Collective. Mike Lane, General Manager, the Alternative Commentary Collective, said his team was excited to be back, and I quote,
Yeah, quote him, please.
"It all started for the Alternative Commentary Collective back in 2015 with live and unfiltered cricket commentary on iHeartradio, so it's mildly emotional to be back calling the game we love," said Lane. "Cricket is a lifelong passion for many of the ACC team, so look out for a stunning return to audio commentary. We guarantee it will be like no other coverage you have ever heard."
Mildly emotional. He's been on a bender for the last 2 days
Yeah.
since the good news came through.
Well, nothing new there. Well, there you go. Looking forward to the test match tonight. Looking forward to the series continuing. It's just going to be fantastic, Dylan Cleaver.
Yeah, I look forward to wrapping up this test. Hopefully not the series.
Yes.
But wrapping up the test next week.
Yeah, and hopefully Paul Ford will be back with us as well. So from all the team here on the BYC podcast, thanks for taking the time to listen. Tell your mates about it, why don't you? Hey, what's going on with the bounce, Dylan?
The bounce is tracking along wonderfully, thank you.
It's great. You're making millions?
Well, not quite.
Right, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, the subscriber base is growing all the time. Lots of happy customers. So dylancleaver.substack.com, or just go to your Google machine, type in Dylan Cleaver, the bounce, and there's some very easy steps to join up for free.
Good stuff, mate.